Hello, trading is closed on May 14th, 2024. We always do our disclaimer first, go over our calls, and then make some predictions. It's my trading plan for tomorrow, which is Wednesday, May 15th, 2024. Please remember my calls can be wrong. Trade at your own risk. Also, I've been busy all evening, have not had as much time I would like to do my analysis. I'll be busy at least in the morning tomorrow, perhaps all day, and will not risk any of my money my own money on today's calls. Don't forget to circle your calendar for next week's free simulcast from David. This is a reminder of what we said. PPI report came out. Don't like to predict what will happen, but I did have a lower target. That didn't print, so we have to add it to the list. CPI, Consumer Price Index, comes out tomorrow. I'm always a bit leery to make predictions when these reports comes out, but I'll do my best. Just remember, you can get big moves from those reports. I don't have any system for predicting what happens when these reports come out. Also, don't forget we're going to be within the time range in which Caroline's work calls for a possible top, as well as DeMarc's. Early on, we had an ultimate sell signal with an optional higher target. All these moves were called false. They've all retraced. We had an ultimate buy signal that's worked. We have a lower target that hasn't printed yet, 52.1891. If we don't cap up smartly, that'll have to be the call. Now, when I first came out with the system in 2002, I got very lucky. And for the first 40 days when I had the system, every single target printed within its preferred time frame. If I had so many unfilled targets when I first came up with the system, it's conceivable I would have given up with it, because that's a lot. You might tend to think maybe something's changed. All I could do is look at the track record with you, and now have two unfilled ultimate targets. Here's 21 years of, actually 22 years of ultimate targets. 7 of those targets have been printed in 22 years, once every 3 years. If you look at how many standard targets don't print, I have a lot now, but you'll see how unusual it is to have that many. And maybe this will be something else unusual. Again, you never know. But when you're in a cluster like this, where you get a bunch of unfilled targets, it makes it harder for me to trade, but I have a high degree of confidence at some time these numbers will print. They just don't print when you want them to. And again, I get these clusters about twice a year, and in the past, these numbers at some point, usually in the not too distant future, have printed. Tomorrow's pattern has the early high, which doesn't tell us where we open. Consumer Price Index comes out before tomorrow's open. I can't predict a response to that with a sufficient degree of accuracy, but there is a lower target. If you don't cap up smartly, the rules call for it to print. But about twice a year, I get a cluster of targets in a brief period of time which don't print within their preferred time frames. Looks like we're in such a time cluster now. All I can tell you is in the past, these targets at some point do print. We're getting very close to the time when other people's work say we could have a top. So we're at resistance. Resistance from this trend line. This is a Gann fan 1x2 line. It's off by a point or two. I don't care about that. So you're trading at resistance, getting close to a time frame that other people's work call for a top, and we have lower targets. Now, if you go up a little bit more, it doesn't change anything, but I think we're close to a top here. We had this big rally, couldn't clear, midday high. These are all signs, but until we turn around, it's just hard to risk your money because once we turn around, I think the payoff's going to be pretty big. But until we turn around, you just can't be sure that's it. But we look awfully close, to me, is all I can say. Close to a top, if that's not it. It's a pattern with the early high, and that's today's call.